Santham Academy. Welcome to Digital Kaksha. To get updates on new videos, click the subscribe button and the bell icon.
Good morning, students. Today we are going to start a new chapter of chemistry, chapter 3rd, metals and non-metals. This chapter you have understood in 8th class also. The basic concepts were being taught in 8th and few more moderations and chemical reactions are there in 10th class. The first topic which we are going to discuss is physical properties of metals and non-metals. Many of the properties you have already learned in previous classes, so we are going to recall them over here today. The first property is hardness. When we talk about hardness, then in metals, generally all the metals are hard except alkali metals like lithium, sodium, potassium. Alkali metals are those which are in the first group of the periodic table, that is lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium. The first group of the periodic table is alkali metals. Among that alkali metals, lithium, sodium and potassium are very soft. Soft as like paneer or cheese that they can easily be cut by a knife. Okay. When we talk about non-metals are soft. They are soft or usually they are in gaseous form like chlorine gas, oxygen gas, nitrogen gas. All the gases usually are non-metals except diamond. You need to know the exceptions and learn them very well. Usually in exam for MCQs exceptions come. So non-metals are soft except diamond. Diamond, we know that it is the hardest element in the earth crust. So diamond is the hardest element, although it belongs to a non-metal. It is formed by the combination of carbon atoms in a tetrahedral structure form. Secondly, second property is strength. When we come to strength, strength means the bonding. When we come to strength, metals have high tensile strength, means for breaking we cannot cut them simply by hand. For breaking we need to have hammer, we need to have some sharp things, sharp tools. Except lithium, sodium, potassium, I have told these metals are very soft, they can easily be cut with the help of knife. So all the metals are having high tensile strength except these three. Now coming to non-metals, they have less tensile strength because they are not in solid form. Third property is luster. Luster means shiny appearance. Now many metals we have seen in our day-to-day life, they are shiny in appearance like gold, silver, then platinum. These are the metals we have seen, they all are shiny. That's why we used to have their jewelries. So metals are lustrous, they have shiny appearance like copper, aluminium. But non-metals have very dull appearance. Here also there is an exception. Iodine crystal, if you have seen, and if not, it's a black color crystal, very shiny in appearance like a salt, rock salt. And diamond is shiny, it's very much shiny, we know about it. Next property is state. Talking about the physical state, metals are generally solid in form except mercury. Mercury is the only metal which is liquid in form. Non-metals, they may be solid, liquid or gas. Now there is only one non-metal which exists in liquid form, that is bromine. There is only one. They generally exist in gaseous form, like I have told, chlorine gas, oxygen gas, nitrogen gas, these all are non-metals. Talking about solid, sulfur is a non-metal but it exists in a solid form. Next property is sound, means when the metals or non-metals will be beaten, they will produce sound or not. So in that we can say that metals are sonorous, means if metals will be beaten, they are going to produce sound. That's why in the alarm you would have seen that the metal bob is made up of iron. Except lithium, potassium and sodium, these three metals do not produce sound as they are soft. When we talk about non-metals, they are not sonorous, means they will not produce sound when they will be beaten, as they are brittle. What does brittle means? Brittle means they are quite loose in their tensile strength. Like if I consider iodine crystal, it is a black color crystals. When we will put it on the floor from some height, it will break into pieces or a powder form. So it can be told as brittle. Next property is malleability. What is malleability? Malleability means can be beaten into thin sheets, means if the metals are being beaten up by the hammer, they can be converted into thin sheets. Like we have aluminium foil for packing our food, so that aluminium foil is made up of metal aluminium, and how much thin is that we have seen. So we can say that metals are malleable as they can be beaten into thin sheets. Again, moving on to non-metals. Non-metals are non-malleable. Why non-malleable? Because they are not in solid form. So we cannot beat them as they are brittle. Again, next property is ductility. Ductility means can be drawn into thin wires. Like we have electrical wires in our home that is made up of aluminium or copper. So these wires are made up of metal and they are being drawn into wires. Non-metals are non-ductile, again because they are brittle, they are usually existing in gaseous form, so then they cannot be drawn into wires or sheets. After ductility, the next property is conductivity. Conductivity here represents conductivity of electricity. So metals are good conductors of electricity. When electricity moves in metal, it's very easy for the electricity to flow. That's why at our home we used to have the electrical wires made up of copper. Now the question here is, aluminium can also be used for the conductivity in the wires, or in place of that, silver, which is the best conductor of electricity among all the metals, can also be used. But why we are not using it? Because silver, as it is costly, so we cannot use it. And secondly, when we talk about aluminium, that can also be used, but if we will use aluminium in the wires and the appliances will run for a long time, may be possible the circuit will break because aluminium has melting point low. So it may melt because of electricity. That's why for the good conduction we are using copper wires. So we understood metals are good conductors except lithium and potassium as they are soft. Now moving on to non-metals. Non-metals are poor conductors of electricity as they are usually in gaseous form except graphite. Now we know that graphite is the best conductor of electricity, but it is made up of carbon and carbon belongs to non-metals. So we have an exception over here. Next property is melting point and boiling point. So metals have very high melting and boiling point because they have high tensile strength. Their bonding is very strong. So if the bonding in atom is very strong, we need to provide high temperature to break the bond. That's why their melting and boiling point is very high. Again, there is an exception, that is lithium and potassium. As they have less bonding, they are not so strong. Now, moving on to non-metals. Non-metals have low melting and boiling point as they are usually existing in gaseous form, except diamond. We know that diamond is made up of carbon, which is a non-metal, and also diamond is the hardest substance present on the earth crust. So we can say all non-metals have low melting and boiling point except diamond. Now moving on to the next property, that is density. What is density? Density means mass per unit volume. So when we talk about density, then in that case metals have very high density as they are existing in solid form. So they have very high density. But when we talk about non-metals, they have low density as they are usually existing in gaseous form. Now last property, physical property, is color. Generally they are grey or silvery in color, like silver, platinum, sodium. These all are silvery in appearance except gold. Gold is yellow in color, and copper. Copper, we have seen the color of it, slightly reddish brown. And these non-metals are of many colors depending upon their existence. Either they are gaseous or they are solid. After physical properties, let's move to the next topic, chemical properties of metals. So the first property is reaction of metal with oxygen. Now, whenever metal react with oxygen, it forms metal oxide. If we talk about iron, so iron utensils or iron things become rusted or they become browny in color. Why? Because they also get reacted with oxygen, they get oxidized. So we can say that metals with oxygen form oxide. For example, potassium is reacting with oxygen to form potassium oxide K2O. Similarly, sodium Na reacting with oxygen to form sodium oxide Na2O. Lithium Li combining with oxygen to form lithium oxide Li2O. These three metals react very fastly with oxygen. That's why it is being advised to store lithium, potassium and sodium in kerosene, or they are being kept in laboratories by putting a layer of grease on it, so that these grease or kerosene cut the supply of oxygen and they do not react with oxygen. If they will come in contact with oxygen, they may catch fire and it is quite dangerous. So always potassium, sodium, we need to store them in kerosene, also in dark colored bottles. Next reaction, reaction of copper with oxygen. You would have seen copper utensils. So when copper utensils come in contact with oxygen or water for a long time, they become greenish in color. So that means they are oxidized. So when copper is reacting with oxygen, it forms copper oxide. But copper do not react with oxygen at room temperature. So that's why for reacting we need to heat it. But you will say that in day-to-day life we have seen such reactions where copper get oxidized. But there with oxygen moisture is also present. So that inhibits the reaction, increases the rate of that particular reaction. Now when we talk about silver, gold and platinum, which we used to have in our jewelries, they never become dull. They are having same shining appearance as they have when we purchase them from market. So these three metals with oxygen shows no reaction even at high temperatures. Now, next chemical property is reaction of metals with water. So, when metals react with water, it forms metal hydroxide and hydrogen gas is being released. Water gives H plus and OH minus. So, metal combines with OH minus and forms metal hydroxide. Why? Because we know that metals are electropositive. Electropositive means metals loses electron and gets plus charge. Metals, although when lose electron, get stable electronic configuration. For example, sodium. Sodium, we know that sodium has atomic number 11. So, if it has atomic number 11, its electronic configuration is 281. That means in the last shell it has 1 electron. Now, we know that in the third shell, if there are 8 electrons, then the atom is stable. Every atom wants to be get stable. So, here sodium, for getting stable in the third shell, it requires 7 more electrons. But it is not possible to gain 7 electrons. So, here sodium is going to lose this electron. It's going to give this electron. When sodium will give this electron, then it has only 10 electrons present now. And it forms an ion. Since it has loses the electron, it gets plus charge. So, here we can say that metals are electropositive, means they loses electron and gets plus charge. Now, why I have explained this? Because here metals are reacting with water. Now, water has 2 ions in it, H plus OH minus. So, metals, since they are electropositive, so positive will combine with negative ion of water. So, that's why metal will combine with OH and will form metal hydroxide. OH is hydroxide and this H will come out as H2 gas. Some examples. First is sodium. When comes in contact with water, if you will put a single piece of sodium in water, you will see that it catches fire and it floats on the water. Why? Because sodium reacts with water. This reaction is exothermic reaction. Heat is being released in it. It forms NaOH plus H2 gas. So, this gas pushes the sodium piece and that's why it seems to be running here and there. Along with it, heat is being produced and because of this heat, we see sometimes fire also in it. Now, second reaction is calcium with water. When calcium metal react with water, it forms calcium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Along with it, heat. Again, it's an exothermic reaction. Now, here I have written that calcium floats. What does it mean? It means that when calcium reacts with water, then the calcium used to float over on the beaker where it is being done. This reaction is being done. Means when I am reacting calcium with water, you will see that some pieces of calcium is floating onto the surface of water. The reason behind it is that calcium, when reacting with water, hydrogen gas is being released in the form of bubbles. These bubbles of hydrogen get attached with calcium and because of that calcium becomes light. And as it becomes lighter, it comes up to the surface of reaction and it floats. Next metal we are taking is magnesium. When magnesium reacts with water, it forms magnesium hydroxide. But the reaction of magnesium with water is a very slow process. It will form magnesium hydroxide and also magnesium will float onto the surface as it was in the case of calcium. To make the reaction faster, in place of water, if we will use steam, then it will form magnesium oxide, not hydroxide. Along with it, hydrogen gas is being released. Moving on to the next reaction, aluminium when reacts with steam, it forms aluminium oxide and hydrogen gas is being released. So by this we have seen so many reactions of metals with water or steam. So the order of reactivity is potassium is highly reactive, after that sodium, then calcium, magnesium, followed by aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, copper, silver and gold. Now the next reaction is reaction of metals with dilute acid. This reaction we have studied in the previous chapter, acids, bases and salt. Again I am recalling that reaction. When metals react with acid, it forms salt and hydrogen gas. Example, when sodium react with sulfuric acid, H2SO4, then acid break into its ion, it releases H plus ion. So sodium will combine with the sulfate, forms Na2SO4, sodium sulfate, and the hydrogen gas is being released. Similarly, zinc reacts with HCl, it is also an acid, hydrochloric acid. So the zinc will combine with chlorine to form zinc chloride, a salt, ZnCl2 plus H2 gas will be released. If we see the order of reactivity of metals with acid, then potassium, sodium and calcium, they are the highly reactive metals towards acid. Now the order of reactivity is potassium, sodium, calcium, then magnesium, followed by aluminium, zinc, iron, copper, silver and gold. Copper, gold and silver are not at all reactive. They are very least reactive metals. Now a special note point is to be noted over here is, here I have shown you two reactions, metal with sulfuric acid, metal with hydrochloric acid. But if we take nitric acid, then the reactions are not in this manner. What happens? H2 gas is not evolved when metal is treated with HNO3, that is nitric acid. Why? The reason behind is nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. This was there in first chapter. Since nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent, so it oxidizes the H2 to water. Means oxidizing means addition of oxygen. So when the H2 gas will be released when metal reacts with nitric acid, so that H2 gas will convert to water, and this nitric acid itself get reduced to nitrogen oxide. What is the reaction? If suppose I am taking zinc and reacting that with nitric acid, so in that case this nitric acid should form zinc nitrate and hydrogen gas. When the hydrogen gas produced, that hydrogen gas converts to water. It forms H2O. Along with it, it forms nitrogen oxide, that is NO2, or it may be N2O. So in that case, there is no reaction of metal with acid. So it's clear that nitric acid do not produce hydrogen gas on reaction with metals. Now we'll come to the next property in the next video. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe for more.